Welcome to our webinar, The Importance of Online Reviews. We're just going to give it another minute, make sure that everyone who RSVP'd is able to get in the room and join us, and then we'll begin. Okay, I think we should get started now. Today's presenter is Moira Belonge. She's the Vice President of 3CI. And if you are an accredited business owner or employee, then you may be familiar with their services at 3CI. The Review Solution app allows you to easily text your customers a link to submit a review on your BBB business profile right to their phone. Now, Moira has been honored to work with the National Roofing Contractors Association, the American Academy of Cosmetic Dentistry, and many other large service provider organizations. As the Executive Vice President of 3CI, Moira helps both large and small companies master their digital marketing strategies. Now, studies have shown that when researching online, customers are more likely to make purchasing decisions based on customer reviews than any other type of advertising. During the webinar, we ask that you put your questions in the Q&A, and throughout the webinar, Moira will check that Q&A and ask questions as she goes. And then, of course, at the end, when we wrap up, we'll also be taking your questions again. So put that in the Q&A, and let's learn more about generating the reviews that will push your company to the front of the line. Moira?
Thank you, Kristen. Hello, everybody. Thank you all for joining us today. Like she said, I'm going to be talking about the importance of online reviews. And if you are an accredited business joining us today, what exactly the BBB has for accredited businesses that can help get more reviews on their BBB profile. And so, and Kristen alluded to this when she discussed how online reviews are the most effective way to get new customers, and it's even more effective than online marketing or advertising efforts. As you can see here, 99% of consumers use the internet to find a local business in 2021. And I just want to point out, so all the stats that I'm going to be presenting within the next few slides, I've taken from Bright Local's Local Consumer Survey 2022. They come out with a version pretty much every year. And so essentially these are all questions pertaining to 2021. And then this survey was released in January earlier this year. And so again, 99% of consumers use the internet to find a local business in 2021, and 98% of consumers read online reviews for local business. And that is an astonishingly high number. And the reason it's so high is I can tell you right now, there's it's a greater than 2% of people who don't even have internet at home in the country. And so for 98% of consumers to be reading online reviews for local businesses is huge. And it just drives home the point that online reviews are becoming increasingly important to businesses. Okay. And not only do people look at reviews, and so they're looking at the volume of reviews and your review ratings, but they look at when a review was written. So as you can see here, 93% of consumers care when a review was written. So it's no longer enough to have 40 or 50 or even 100 reviews if all the reviews that you have online were basically written 2, 3, even 4 years ago. And so this shows you that as a business, it's not enough to focus on online reviews this month, or have a 6-month period of time where you're focused on online reviews and then you stop focusing on them. This shows you that pretty much online reviews, you have to regularly be trying to get more online feedback. from your customers. Because a review that was recent today, obviously next year is not going to be as relevant. In fact, almost half of the consumers that are reading online reviews only pay attention to reviews written within the past month. And so, and if you think about it as a consumer, that makes sense. I know that when I'm doing research, whether it's trying to figure out which company I'm going to have in my house to do my flooring, or even which restaurant I'm going to go to dinner this weekend, I not only look at the reviews, but I look at when they were written, because quite frankly, if a review's from 3 years ago, I'm not so sure that it's relevant now. There's a lot of changes that can happen within a business, whether it's, management, personnel, maybe the services they offer are different, their pricing has changed, their policies are different. And so you can understand why consumers are caring more about when a review was written, because if it was written too long ago, it might not have any kind of relevance to what their experience is going to be. Okay. And I think this is no surprise to anybody that star rating absolutely matters to consumers. In fact, over 3/4 of consumers think it's important for a business that they're considering or that they eventually go with to have a higher star rating than the other businesses they're looking at. And so quite simply, if you look at your competitors and how they look online, and just make sure that your reviews you have more reviews, you have a better star rating, and your reviews are all recent, because that's really what it takes to compete nowadays, especially since more and more consumers are being internet savvy and doing basically all their research online for businesses. Okay. And in addition to having really good online reviews, consumers also care about whether or not a business is responding to these reviews. And I think that's really important, because 89% is a really high number. So these same customers are reading reviews and they're reading your responses to them. I think it's important for businesses to respond to every single review that they receive. Nowadays, whenever I'm doing research online, I kind of see that businesses tend to respond to negative reviews more than they do to positive reviews. And I completely understand, that reflex, right? Because you get a negative review about your business, you automatically want to defend your business or kind of explain your side of the story to any consumers that might be reading that. But again, you have to remember to also respond to the customers that are giving you great feedback. So, a simple, hey, thanks for the opportunity to do business with you. We enjoyed having you come into our office, something along those lines. You don't have to make it super specific so as not to reveal the details of that particular person's experience with you. But I do encourage making it a little more personal than just a generic response to every review that you receive. And then it should come as no surprise then that 3/4 of consumers, after reading about a good experience that someone else has had with a business, they start to feel positively towards that business, even if they themselves have never done business, with that company. Okay. And this is encouraging. So 74% of consumers left a review for a local business in 2021. And so you can certainly take advantage of the willingness of consumers now to leave feedback for a business. I know that everybody thinks that consumers are more likely to leave a negative review. And while that may be true in terms of unprompted, they might be more likely to leave a negative review, but they're also more than willing to leave a positive review if the business asks them to. And so I'm going to stop here and see if there's any questions. It doesn't look like there are any. So if you guys have a question or a comment about any of the stats I just presented, please go ahead and do so. What I think is actually very important, and I'm going to keep coming back to this during this webinar, is consumers trust Better Business Bureau reviews the most. And so while Google reviews Google gets the vast majority of consumer reviews. And I think that's got a lot to do with the fact that because people use Google as a search engine, you really can't get away from Google reviews if you're doing any kind of research online on any business. And so they kind of have, an unfair advantage when it comes to the other review sites. But with that being said and everything else being equal, a consumer is still going to trust that BBB review the most. And I think that's important to remember, because BBB still has that integrity associated with their brand name. And I think consumers instinctively know that if it's on the BBB website, BBB must have done something additional to verify that review. Whereas a lot of review sites, I mean, Google especially, they don't really do anything additional once a consumer leaves a review to kind of verify if that's even a legitimate customer, or maybe it's a competitor leaving that review, or a disgruntled employee. And so I think, I think for the most part, businesses don't take advantage of the fact that BBB has such a high, basically consumers hold it in such high regard, and it's, especially for accredited businesses, I don't think that's something that enough businesses leverage. And so I'm here to talk to you about an app that is available to accredited businesses, and it is only available to accredited businesses, that's going to help these accredited businesses take advantage of the fact that consumers absolutely trust BBB reviews more than reviews on any other review site. Okay. And so the app, so the review solution is the reviews platform, like Kristen said earlier during my introduction. And there's a specific version of that app that's free to accredited businesses, and it helps you get reviews onto your BBB profile. And so it's very, very easy. And we've actually worked very hard to make it not just easy for the business, but exceedingly easy for your customer as well. And so I'm going to encourage you to message Emily Elliott. She's on my team. She works at Third Coast Interactive with me. You can send a chat to her specifically. If you want to drop in and message her your cell phone number, she'll send you a demo text from the app so you can see exactly how easy it is for a customer to leave your review. And so this will give you the opportunity to experience what your customer could potentially experience if you download the app that's made for accredited businesses. Okay, and essentially all it is once you have the app on your phone, you can kind of see it here. All you have to do is enter the customer's name and phone number and hit send. And that's it. That is all that needs to be done on the business side of the equation. And then on the flip side, the customer, all they have to do is click the link in the text, and they're immediately able to leave you a BBB review. And so it cuts out a lot of the unnecessary steps on the customer side, but it's also very simple for you as an accredited business to use it. Oh, there we go. And so this is what your customer will see when they click the link. So as you can kind of see here, it takes them directly to where they can leave you a BBB review. So normally, if they were on bbb.org, they would have to search for your business, select the correct BBB business profile. Once they're on the profile, look for where they can leave you a review, click that link, and then leave you a review. And so again, the app makes it super simple, because all they have to do is click the link in the text that you sent them. And I'm going to remind everybody again, if you want to see exactly what that looks like, so you get an idea of what your customer sees, you can send a message directly to Emily, and that way you don't have to worry about anybody else seeing your cell phone number, and she can send out a text to you, and you can experience exactly how the app works. Okay. So if you're an accredited business, and I'll go through this really quickly. If you're an accredited business, the app's going to be activated with a device key, which we can generate for you. It's automatically generated for your business. And what that does is it lets our system know that every instance of that app that's out there in the world should be linked to your business. And so whether it's you that's requesting a review or someone else in your company requesting a review, we'll all know from there that any reviews collected from the app is going to be linked to your business. And every business can have an unlimited number of device keys. And so everybody in your organization can have the ability to request reviews. And we actually encourage that. And I'll talk about that more later on, about giving everybody in your business the ability to request reviews, because that's how you maximize the type of reviews and the number of reviews you're getting from your customers. Okay, let me see here if we have any questions. Oh. Okay, looks like people, so no questions just yet. And at some point, if you guys want to actually download the app and get it set up, Emily, if you request a device key from her, just send her a message and give her your company name. She'll give you that device key. We can actually have you up and running before the end of the webinar. And so you can start requesting reviews literally while you're listening or on the webinar with me. So, okay. Okay, and I talked about having a different device key for each of your employees. And the reason we recommend that is the app actually has a dashboard that's associated with it. And it lets you track every single review request being sent to the app. And so that way you don't have to remember, oh, did I already send a review request, to Mrs. Smith? Or I can't remember if Susie responded to my review request. So this will let you know exactly who you're sending review requests to. And not just you, but basically everybody in your company. Again, all the device keys that are for your company are going to be tied together. They're going to be associated with your company. And so the system is going to keep track of every single review request that's being sent on behalf of your company. So you don't have to worry about having to remember all of that. Okay. And it's going to tell you who in your company sent the request. So you'll know if it was John or if it was Sally, when the review request was sent. Whether or not the customer actually even clicked on the link, and if they left a review, and if they did leave a review, whether, whatever that data is related to that review. So it'll show who left the review, their email address, their phone number, and the actual review that they left. So, and you can access it directly from the app. You can also go to reviewsolution.com/app to go to the dashboard. We're actually going to be pushing an update to our app, hopefully by the end of the month, but definitely by next month, where you're not even going to need to log into the dashboard. The app, clicking the dashboard option in the app is going to take you directly to the tracking. And so making it even easier for you to see what everyone in your company is doing when it comes to the app. Okay, any questions or comments about that? Okay, and actually, if you send Emily directly your phone number, your cell phone number, she can send you a link to download the app to the phone. So she'll send you the link to the phone. Oh, sorry, she'll send a link to your phone so that you can download the app right now. And she'll send you your device key as well, so you can actually start using it immediately. See if I have any questions. Great. Okay. And again, why would you use the app? Again, it's only available to accredited businesses. But if you're an accredited business, why would you use the app to get BBB reviews versus any other method? And here's just a couple. Number one, we talked about how quick and easy it is. Again, just the customer name, mobile number, hit send. In fact, you don't even have to physically type in the cell phone number of your customer. If you allow the app access to your contacts, it'll pull the number directly from your address book. And so you don't have to worry about typos or having to type in the number. Basically, if you have your customers on your cell phone, you can send them the review request directly, which is very convenient. And again, on the customer side, and for those of you who have requested to receive demo text from the app, that's exactly what your customer is going to experience. So all they have to do is open the text message and click the link, leave your review. And it's even actually simpler than that, because any review that they submit using the request you sent them through the app is going to be pre-verified. And it's because, again, BBB does have an extra layer, actually a couple layers of verification when it comes to reviews that they're collecting from customers that get posted on BBB business profiles. And I think that's part of the reason why consumers trust BBB reviews the most. And so that extra layer of verification just means that they want to make sure that the contact information provided by the customer when they left the review is valid. So whether that's an email address or a phone number, they just want to make sure it's valid. And that way, if they have any questions about the review or want to follow up with the customer regarding the review, they're able to do that. Now, because the app sends a text out to the customer, if the customer is able to leave the review using that text, then they're validating their cell phone number. Because again, they would not have been able to receive the text or click the link in the text if that was not a valid mobile number. And so basically the app takes care of both the review submission and the verification of the contact information with just one click from the customer. And so it just makes it exceedingly easier for the customer to leave reviews, because the only thing they really have to do is write the actual review. All the other steps can be removed from their side of the equation. So, and that's again, one huge reason why we encourage the use of the app, especially if you're an accredited business. And another thing, and I think we can all agree, because I'm sure everybody on this webinar gets both marketing emails and marketing texts now. And I still open every single text I get, or at the very least, I don't delete them. And so right now, texts get a 98% open rate compared to emails, which is astonishing. If I was getting 98% open rates on the emails I send out, I would be retired already, because I would have sold that platform to Google, right? So, and texts also have a 45% response rate. So I think it's because of the way people interact with their text messages. There's more immediacy that's associated with text message. So they're more likely not just to open the text message, but to actually act on that text message. So it gets a response rate, a higher engagement rate. And because the app uses SMS messaging to send out these requests, it makes it easy for you, the accredited business, to get reviews. And so that's why if you're an accredited business, it makes more sense to use the app to get BBB reviews. I'm going to stop here and see if anybody has any questions. Okay. All right. So far, so good. So the next part I'm going to talk about briefly, and this is what I find when I talk to businesses like you, this is kind of the part that they struggle on. And so you have the app as an accredited business, which makes the mechanics of requesting a review very easy. It's easy for you, easy for the customer, it's just name and phone number, right? But obviously you still have to actually ask for the review. And I think that is what a lot of businesses struggle with. And so I put together kind of some best practices, some tips, I think that can be really helpful for businesses, especially those who aren't used to asking for online feedback. And, I do agree that it can be pretty intimidating and kind of awkward, especially if it's not something that you've done regularly. And so one of the things that I like to emphasize is to ask for the review at the point of service, of course, whenever possible. With COVID, I know that a lot of times you're not doing as much face-to-face interactions with your customers, and that's okay, because you can adapt this approach to basically when you're having an interaction with your customer. So whether you're meeting them in person or you just have them on the phone, that is the time that you're going to ask for the review, because number one, that's going to be when they're either the happiest with the service or product that they've received, or that's going to be when you're at the top of their mind. So whether you've just finished cleaning their floors or installed a roof for them, or you're just following up just to make sure, on the phone to make sure everything looks good, that's when you can ask for the review, because that's going to be when they're the most likely to actually follow through. And that is where the app actually shines, because it's so much easier to ask for a review at the point of service with an app that's on your phone, right? Versus having to go to the office later and send them emails requesting reviews. And so with the app, you just take your phone out, put the information that's you need in the app, and send it to the customer. Okay. And one of the ways that I find really works for a lot of different businesses, of course, for contractor-based services, you can easily adapt this, but it's also adaptable depending on the type of industry that your business is in. And I call it the perfect walk. And really what it looks like is something like this. So let's say you did just finish cleaning the carpet for one of your customers. So you go up to them, you let them know, hey, online reviews have become really important to my business. Would you mind leaving us a review? Of course, they'll say yes. And this is the part that I find kind of funny is, so then you ask them if they have their cell phone on them. You take out the app, you put in their name and cell phone number, you hit send. At that point, especially if their phone's not on silent or even on vibrate, you can hear them receive that text message. And it's actually pretty cool. So you hear them get the text message. They know that you heard them get the text message. And typically at this point, I would recommend you saying something along the lines of, hey, it looks like you received the text. Go ahead and open it. Click that link. While you do that, and this part is key, while you do that, I'm going to check one last time and make sure everything looks good. So that's what you're saying to your customer. And you do that. So number one, you're not standing there awkwardly, kind of twiddling your thumbs while they're leaving a review for your business. Number two, you're not hovering over them while they leave the review. So they don't feel obligated to leave you a positive review, because you never want to kind of pressure somebody into doing that. You're not hovering over them, so it's not awkward. And number three, this does, again, give you the opportunity to go back over whatever it is you did for them. And you might as well check and make sure everything does look good. So if you make sure you don't leave any tools behind, you didn't leave any dirt. If especially if you clean their carpets, just make sure that anything is actually, everything's actually clean. Just go over your work one last time and do that for a few minutes. By the time you come back to your customer, ideally, they would have already left you a review. And so you walk away. Again, I call it the perfect walk because it's your cue to walk away and make sure everything looks perfect, right? And then you come back to your customer and then you ask them, oh, hey, did you have any questions about the review process? No? Great, thanks. Thank you so much. Have a great day. And then you leave. And so again, the probability that you're going to receive a review using this approach is a lot higher, right? And you pretty much have that review submitted to the BBB before you even leave either the house of the customer or the site or the job site. And again, you can adapt this approach depending on your industry. I understand that it works most easily with contractor-based type of service. But some variation of walking away and coming back is what I would recommend when you're asking for reviews. So I'm going to just check here and see if anybody has any questions. Looks like we are still good. And the last part, and I think this is very important. So I talked about having a different device key for each of your employees. But then the next step is obviously getting them to use the app. I look at reviews nowadays as something that's just part of doing business. Just like you would, you wouldn't skimp on paying your vendors and you make sure you do payroll every week. There's no reason to not incorporate requesting for reviews directly into your business processes. And we saw, basically, just assume that every single consumer that is a potential customer for you is looking at your reviews online. And so in that case, it's as vital as a lot of other things that you do for your business. And the way to be successful in making sure that people in your company are requesting reviews is just make it part of your procedure. There's lots of things that companies require their employees to do. There's routines that everybody has to go through, whether it's clock in, clock out, when they submit their timesheets, what have you, right? You have all these procedures in place. You train your employees on that. So if you make requesting a review through the app part of just one more thing that they do, it actually makes it a lot easier for your employees because it's not something that they have to think about, right? It's just part of their daily routine. And when you implement something from the top down, it makes it a lot easier for you as a business owner and for your employees to kind of follow what they're supposed to be doing. And so that is how you can ensure success, especially with the app usage, because I will say that that is one of the things that we get all the time from businesses. They have the app, they want to use it, they can't get their employees to use it. And there's a lot of things that if your employee was not doing, they'd be in big trouble. And so just make requesting reviews as part of something that they have to do. Okay, questions or comments about that? All right. So some other best practices, and I'll run through these really quickly. Again, especially with the device keys that's allowed for everybody in your business, give everybody in your company the ability to request reviews, especially anyone that's having any kind of contact with the public, whether, I mean, it could just be the person answering your phones. I can tell you right now, I just moved into a house last summer and, we wanting to get some things done, and something as simple as the person picking up the phone for a business being friendly automatically changes my perception of that business. And so even if it's not somebody that's going to be working with a client, first impressions are everything. And so if you have the person that's kind of like your frontline phone answer, or someone who's responsible for responding to inquiries from potential customers, I would definitely give them the ability to request reviews using the app, because you're going to get a lot of reviews from even people that maybe did not necessarily become a customer, but still appreciate that your company was courteous and polite towards them. I know that's true for me, and I see reviews like that all the time. I want to make sure that I'm going to be treated well, whether or not I decide to go with your business, right? And so I definitely recommend that. If at all possible, if you have one person or department in charge of reviews, that'll make it a lot easier to track the reviews that you're getting and the review requests that are being sent out through the app. And it's very easy to hold your employees accountable. I talked about that dashboard that's available with the app. You can see exactly who's sending out the review requests. And so you can see if it's John or Peter or Sally, and if they're doing what they're supposed to do, right? More to the point, you can actually see who's getting reviews, which I think is more important than who's requesting reviews. So if you have someone that's consistently requesting reviews, but isn't getting the customer to leave them a review, maybe they don't know how to ask properly, or they're not asking correctly, or they're not letting their customers know that they're going to be sending a review request. Or maybe they didn't do a great job, and your customer just didn't feel that compelled to leave a review for them because they didn't love their service. Whatever the case is, you'll be able to see which of your customers, or which of your employees consistently get great reviews. And I think that's going to give you an insight into their performance that you may not have had previously. Because, how a customer or potential customer feels about your business has a lot to do with the employees they interacted with. And so you can be a great business, offer reasonable prices, have very customer-friendly policies. But if the person that a customer interacted with was rude, or maybe wasn't having a great day, that's going to completely sour their opinion of your company. And so the dashboard's going to let you see who's getting great reviews. And maybe if someone is consistently asking for and getting great reviews, maybe they need a raise. Or maybe they need to be in charge of something else. But again, this will give you insight that you may not have had previously, especially since a lot of times customers don't necessarily put the employee name in the reviews. And I know for BBB, even if they did, they'll redact like that personal information because they don't want kind of that personal info out there. And so this way you'll know exactly which employee that great review is associated with. Okay. Another thing that I recommend is incentivize your employees. You can incentivize them for requesting reviews, and you can also incentivize them for getting great reviews. And that's, that is a great way, not just to make sure that they're doing what they're supposed to and asking for reviews, but also to boost employee morale. And it's something as simple as maybe the person that requested the most reviews this week is going to get free lunch. in terms of investment into your company, that's probably going to have a much greater ROI than some of the other things you can do. And there's definitely a lot of ways that you can do that. You don't have to do it weekly. Maybe you have a quarterly raffle, and then for each review requested and each review received, they get a raffle ticket, right? And you raffle off something like an Apple Watch. I don't know. But at the end of the day, rewarding your employees for getting reviews, it's definitely, I find that to be very effective with some of the businesses that we've worked with. Quick reminder, absolutely do not reward your customers. So you can reward your employees, but do not reward your customers for reviews. It's now against FTC guidelines. So they released a updated version of their guidelines earlier this year, and they tell businesses do not offer a reward to your customers for leaving a review. Now, there's exceptions to where a company, sometimes has a new product out there and they give it away for free in exchange for feedback from potential customers or from the customers that are trying it. But in that case, the person leaving the feedback has to make it absolutely clear that they received the product free of charge in exchange for their honest opinion. And I think some of you have probably seen that on some of the product reviews online. So, and then have an effective follow-up strategy, right? So because the dashboard lets you track all the review requests going out, you're able to see which of the customers actually responded and which ones didn't. And so just make sure that you follow up with the ones that didn't respond. Questions about that? See any questions or comments? So I am going to go to the next part, which is so earlier I talked about responding to reviews and how consumers now definitely place a value on businesses responding to the reviews that they receive. But that's another thing I think that businesses don't really think about. And a lot of times, I think we've all read a disgruntled response from a business to a negative review. And it's clear that it was not a thoughtful attempt at responding. And so just have a couple of do's and don'ts for responding to reviews. I addressed this earlier, but definitely respond to all reviews. I know that it's tempting to just respond to the negative reviews because you want to defend your company, but make sure that you are also responding to positive reviews, right? It goes without saying, courteous and polite goes a long way. Even if it's a negative review, actually, especially if it's a negative review, always be courteous when you're responding. I think what people forget is the audience for that response is actually your current and potential customers. It's not necessarily the person that left a review. There's a good chance that the person who left that negative review is not going to want to read your response to them, especially if they're upset, right? So if you're responding to an unflattering review, just keep in mind that your audience is essentially the world at large and not just the person that left the review. And then, of course, being courteous and polite can go a long way. That if the person was upset, if you are nice enough in your response, it might be enough to bring back that disgruntled customer or make them willing to work with you to kind of figure out why they weren't happy in the first place. And maybe you can make it right. And, you've rehabilitated the relationship. Because I think this also goes without saying, but I feel like I have to say it anyways, because I've definitely seen enough responses from businesses, right? So apologize. Sometimes all you have to do is acknowledge that somebody's frustrated. You don't have to apologize for doing anything wrong. You don't have to apologize for your policy. It doesn't matter. If you just say, hey, I'm sorry that you had a frustrating experience with us today, or I'm sorry that you felt frustrated, when dealing with whatever. But I think just apologizing and acknowledging their feelings can go a long way as well. And to go along with that, don't get emotional or defensive. If you think that you're about to respond to a negative review and it's not going to sound so nice, give it 24 hours. I think, again, the instinct of some people is just to kind of respond knee-jerkedly. I don't know if that's a word, but I made it one. So there's a knee-jerk reaction to a negative review posted about your business, and it's understandable, but you want to just start typing away and tell them, no, actually this person didn't pay us and all of this and all of that. It doesn't do you any good, because at that point, that's not going to help the situation with the person who left the negative review, and it just makes you look worse to everybody else that's reading it. You know, don't make it too personal. Don't get into too much detail. Again, number one, depending on the industry that you're in, you might get into trouble. You also don't want to air out personal details about your interactions with customers for everybody to see. And so what I actually recommend is responding to reviews and then offer to take it offline. And in that way, you can discuss the specifics of that particular interaction with the person who left the review, but everybody else doesn't have to be in on it. And then don't speculate. So if somebody leaves a review, you don't really know what it's referring to. I mean, maybe they're leaving a review for the wrong business, right? So I would never speculate. I would never recommend, speculating, especially not in a response to a customer on guessing why they were upset. So if somebody leaves a negative review and it's not very specific, I've definitely seen somebody go, well, you know, maybe it was because you did this, or maybe it was because you didn't show up on time, what have you. But there's no reason to do that. It can only make things worse. Again, just be courteous, offer to take the conversation offline, and you know, you're going to look better in the eyes of potential customers, your current customers, and even in sometimes in the person who originally left that negative review, because you might have the opportunity to make it right for them. Okay, questions or comments about that? All right. And so I think the bottom line is we can all agree that reviews make you a better business, right? Whether it's a positive review, so you know exactly what you're doing right. I mean, if you're getting a lot of positive reviews about a certain service or product, or even an employee, you know to keep doing what you're doing. But then if even not ultimately negative reviews, but some, you know, 3-star reviews or 4-star reviews have suggestions in them. And I think for most businesses, I know, you know, I'm in a business and I always want to know, I always want to get feedback from businesses and BBBs that we work with and just companies in general on what we could be doing better. And so reviews make you a better business. And that is why the Better Business Bureau has made this app available, made this app available for accredited businesses, because it makes it even easier for them to get reviews. So again, to get started with the BBB Reviews app, if you want to download the app now, you can message Emily your cell phone number. She can send you a link to download the app, as well as your device key. You can also log into your BBB business account. You should have access to your app information in there, or you can reach out to your local BBB rep. So I will stop here and see who has questions, comments. Is there anything else that you kind of want me to go over that's reviews related, or how to ask for reviews? This is your opportunity to do that. So you have my full undivided attention. And again, you can just drop that into the chat. Again, you also have a couple of your BBB team members on the webinar here. So if you have a question for them, you can go ahead and do that as well, or submit one as well. So I'll give it a few minutes just to give everybody the chance to ask questions. If anybody else wants to message Emily, go ahead and do that now. Okay, Kristen, was there anything else you wanted me to touch on or talk about?
I think that was great. It really just shows another way that technology is helping companies do business. And it's just amazing that they can do that just the touch of their phone. So Moira, thanks so much for explaining that. And if any of you guys have questions after the webinar today, please reach out to Better Business Bureau serving Connecticut. We're happy to get those answered from Moira. We'll pass them along to her and get you your answers. We'll also be sending a recap email with the slides and a link to the video of today's presentation. We always post these webinars at bbb.org/CT and on Better Business Bureau Serving Connecticut's YouTube page. So plenty of different opportunities to go back and listen. And while you're on our site, you can also look at some of the other webinars we have planned all the way through the end of September, including the very next one, which is on June 29th. It's a how to use YouTube to grow your business webinar, and it'll include why you should have your own YouTube channel, how to set it up, and how to target and measure the results. Thank you to Moira and Emily. We really appreciate you being with us today. And thanks to all of you for joining us. We hope to see you again later this month.
Yep. And I dropped really quickly, if you guys want to send an email, that's our support email that goes directly to my support team. If you guys have any other app related questions, so support@thereviewsolution.com. How do I get a device case? So Melissa, if you want to just type in which company you're with, Emily will be able to help you, and she can even help you outside of the webinar. We'll just reach out to you and get you all the information that you need.
We can keep it open a minute too, if it's easier, just to communicate right here and get it done.
Cheryl, yes, I'm glad that you liked the webinar. And yes, it is a very simple app. That was our goal in developing it. We wanted it to be as easy as possible to both the accredited business and the customer. And that's why we've partnered with BBB, because BBB wants to help their businesses get more reviews. Okay.
Anyone else? Looks like she has her device key. Do we need to stay on, or should she be set now?
She should be set. And it looks like she got it. So Melissa, if you have any other questions when using the app, there's a support icon right on the app. And if you put in any other questions on there, that goes to my support team directly. Anybody else can also use support@thereviewsolution.com.
Moira and Emily, thanks again so much for being with us today and explaining this. Hopefully it'll be very useful to many BBB businesses out there.
Thank you so much, Kristen. Thank you guys for having us. And thank you all for joining.
Have a great rest of your afternoon, everyone.